He totally Rikered her. Rule 34.
And I really am smart, man. He actually stole part of my question, so I'm going to make this even faster. I do want to say thank you, Levar, for reading Rainbow. I read that, I saw that as a kid constantly, and now I actually graduated with a PhD in children's literature. I read I'm a feature writer, and I review children's books constantly. So, quick question for all three of you. What do you think your favorite outtake was in Star Trek? I mean, you get so many good behind-the-scenes stories, so if any of you have a favorite, outtake?
My favorite thing ever is the very first time I remember any of us walking into turbolift doors and they didn't open, and it was Johnny. And the back turbolift, upstage, right on the bridge, and the scene goes on, and you just hear thud, crash, and then from back in the turbolift, like just slightly muffled, shit. It was in the first season. I don't know. That's always worked. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was in the first season at some point. It was awesome.
We got a lot of mileage out of those turbos.
Thanks, Spidey. We're going to keep this line moving so we can get as many people in here as possible.
We're out of here. You guys want to come back?
You know what? That's a great idea. A show of hands, who's coming back to get autographs at the table in the other hall? Wow. Okay. All right. So we'll be there signing for another half an hour or so after this. Sorry, Artie. Go.
This one's for Levar. I was wondering about the visor. Like, do you still have that?
Yes. It is in the original prop box that Charlie Russo handed to me every time we put the visor on, and I'm determined that it will. And by the way, there's a visor being sold someplace, and they are touting it as one that I wore, and it's simply not true. The one that I wore, I've got, and it's going to put my kid through college one day. So.
It was a very interesting experience to watch the visor being put on, because it didn't go simply or easily. It was literally screwed into Levar's head. It was screwed until it was tight enough to stay on. It was nuts.
One of these days I'll bring the visor and I'll show you guys.
It wasn't pretty. Then he lost his peripheral vision. We got
another on that. Those little blinking lights on the side of your temples, how did those go on?
The magnets, they are magnetized. I'd like to be able to say I'm just that talented to enough to cause lights to blink on the side of my head. I'd only be lying.
You had a question, Miss?
Real quick, thank you to all three of you for everything you've done, even since Star Trek Next Generation, Mr. Frakes with the Jumping, Levar with Reading Rainbow, and Wil with your books and the Guild Season 4. My question is, in that 7 years that you spent working on Star Trek The Next Generation, what is that one lesson that each of you have learned that you carry with you through everything you do? What was that one lesson that sticks out in your mind that you always come back to?
For me, it's the third rule of acting. Don't bump into the furniture.
Live each day as if it's your last.
Yeah, take nothing for granted.
And the chowder at the commissary on Fridays is generally pretty good.
Two quick questions. One for Jonathan. Did you enjoy doing the voiceover for David Xanatos in Gargoyles?
Fabulous job. I think it was still on the air.
And then the second one is, out of all three of you, who are the best pilots in terms of captaining a starship?
I didn't even know how it worked. All I used to do was yell red alert. All kinds of shit happened.
I actually taught myself actual command sequences that I made up for put the ship to warp speed.
So did Levar, man. Levar did that before you did that. Levar had those beautiful hands working the dials, and you could tell the sequence he was. He didn't randomly tap away at that console. I can tell you right now.
Jonathan, I was just making shit up. I'm sorry. I really didn't know how to fly the ship. That's,
Tell him, are you serious?
after all these years, I hope you don't think any less of me.
And the reason I mention that is because in the comic book of the newest movie, Star Trek, you have Levar being the pilot of his own ship. And then the one where you, Jonathan, married Deanna Troy, you're a captain. And then...
What about Will?
Well, yeah, Will in the Next Generation. That's where I'd ask the question. Like,
Well, I'm
which
gonna
of all
step
three
in
would
as
you guys
use my moderator power since we really are running solo on time. I could let the young gentleman
Young
ask his
gentleman gets the
question.
last question. What's your name, sir?
Elijah Storter.
Elijah.
It's all yours, man.
It's all yours.
Well, what was your favorite episode playing in Next Generation?
My favorite? I loved it when we were on the holodeck. I think the Robin Hood episode, because we weren't in our spacesuits, we hid in our spacesuits, and we got to dress up and look cool.
I think the best episode we ever did was Best of Both Worlds, where the board was.
Absolutely.
Anytime I got to work with Patrick Stewart was incredible, but one of my favorite working experiences ever, and I don't remember the title of the episode, we're flying in a shuttlecraft together because he's going to have something done to his artificial heart. And the way that script was written, I'm piloting the shuttlecraft and he's just sitting next to me, and on the day, Patrick Stewart said, you know, this just doesn't feel right. I don't believe this scene. I don't think Picard would stay here and sit next to Wesley. So Wesley can fly the shuttlecraft, and then Picard's going to go sit in the back and just be by himself. And then Picard will sort of ask Wesley to come back and sort of sit with him, and they'll chat, and they'll have cucumber sandwiches. And it was one of the first times that I got to spend an entire day's work with Patrick, and I feel like I grew a level in acting that day just by being around him.
Huge fan.
Thank you all very much.